Well, thank you guys. We can be seated in the presence of the Lord. Wow, I don't know where to start. I don't know how to start because there's this peculiar anointing in this house. Umkhulu umsebenzi oNkulunkulu awenzayo kule ndawo. He's building a generation that will move things. Because a generation that is informed, delivered, transformed. A generation that doesn't bow and succumb to traditions, culture, and religion. It's a religion that is the generation that is free. Jesus said in John chapter 8, you shall know the truth, and the truth will set you free. These guys did not understand. They said, but we've never been slaves to anyone. We are descendants and the sons of Abraham. And he says, if you're a slave to sin, then you're a slave. And I'm here to say to you, we are no longer slaves. We are delivered, we are set free. The word of God has transformed us. The truth has set us on the platform that we can compete with anyone in the world. We can stand and proclaim that the kingdom has come. Hallelujah. The kingdom of God has come to South Africa. Amen. Listen, we are not going to bow to the lies of the enemy. We are exposing lies of the enemy that have been keeping people captives for many years. Lord, we thank you for deliverance. Pastor Stella, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Our capacity has been extended because we have been digging. We have been fashioning this vessel. We did not allow it to have thicker walls, but we allowed these vessels to remove the inside that our capacity can be big. You can have this cup of the same size, but only to find that the capacity is different because this cup is heavy and it's thicker, but it's got no space inside. But you can have a cup that looks thinner, but it's got more capacity. And I pray that God will give us capacity. Because it's not about the thickness of our walls, but it's what we carry inside. The Bible says, though we are pressed on every side, we are not crushed. Why? Because of the treasure that is in earthen vessel. What makes you not to be crushed is not the thickness of your walls, but it's the treasure inside. Just love it. I just love it. I just love it. All right, that's not my topic. Let me go back to my notes. I don't want to spend time on this. This is a big temptation. I don't learn for the last 20-something years, but I should always preach first. And I forget. Next time, I'm going to preach first. Well, today I'm going to be talking about church leadership and governance. So what I'm going to do, the first few slides will be more about church governance. We wrote a book in our Bible school about church governance. And then I'm going to switch and talk about church leadership. But I'm going to make sure that I try to bring them together. And I want to make a disclaimer before I start that some of the things I'll be saying are my opinions, and I would like you guys to walk with me. It's better to have a structure that after 10 years we can work and change and chop it than to have no structure at all. Because one of the biggest challenges we are faced with our churches in South Africa, especially black-led churches, is that most of them, they run without proper structures. So we need to have some form of structure. Remember, all these structures we have, they are not eternal structures. All right, times and season changes. So we need to adapt some of the structures based on the times. All right, what I'm going to be teaching you, what we will be sending to you, maybe the people 20 years from now, the next generation will start improving on the structures. Do you understand? I think we really have to understand that part. We shouldn't be like people who would say, no, this is God, and come up with this religious thing and say, this is divine. All right? No, it's not divine. It is just a revelation. Revelation comes, it's a seasonal thing. You know, I looked at some of the things I did and said to my kids, At that time, I was correct because I did not have the information. I have it now. So don't condemn yourself and say, I was beating my kids and say, this is wrong. There are people we disciplined hard in the church. At the time, it was the right thing to do. But when we look at it retrospective, we realize we were also religious about some of these things. But you don't beat yourself up. You were doing the right thing. The presence of strong leadership it's better than the absence of leadership at all. Where there is no leadership, there's chaos. There rather be a father who's stern and strong and giving direction. Today, we are strong and we are responsible adults because of our parents who were very strict. Look at those who did not have parents, or their parents were absent. Where are they? There are things I don't agree with what my parents did, but I thank God they were there. So our churches must have strong leadership structures. If there are no leadership structures, then we are not going anywhere. We can't have leaders with banana backbones. Things will not grow. We are not growing. We are not going anywhere. So we're going to look at the issue of church leadership and governance. Now, I want to look at the two main ministries in the church, which are deacons and elders. There are some churches that are running through a board of deacons, and some are running with a board of elders. And today we are going to look at and differentiate between a board of deacons and a board of elders. And remember, elders, a pastor is an elder. He is the first amongst the elders. Okay, we've got to understand that. A pastor, whether an apostle, a bishop, an evangelist, whoever, they are elders. Okay? Then when they are presiding over the church, they are actually the first amongst the other elders. And now, in the 80s, 1985, 86, when we came into the kingdom to understand some of these things, there was a term called the set man. Some of you might remember it, Bishop, the set man. And there was a concept where the church was run through a set man. And the set man, as S-E-T, the story of Moses, the story of Elijah, they would always say God chooses one man, a set man. And then God will create a team, or this man will create a team around himself. But when you realize that now in this day, we're no longer emphasizing the issue of a set man, but we talk about a team ministry. But there is always the one who is a senior amongst the seniors. Okay? So this is something we can discuss. You've got the right to ask me questions and raise your hand when I'm talking. All right? Because I want us to really have a discussion. I'm going to even mention churches, the systems that they use, and then we need to look at the vision of our church, look at the structures and say, this will work for us, this will not work for us, but there must be a structure. Okay, guys? Because if there's no structure, then we are in big trouble. Because some churches have they're running like denominations where you are a pastor, but you belong to a district, and in that district there's a circuit. In that circuit there are seniors. So we've got to look at these things. We can't when we throw away water, we can't throw even the baby too. One of the biggest mistakes that took place in the last 10-15 years is that a lot of pastors, young pastors from Bible school, they will be inspired and they would be watching T.D. Jakes, Creflo Dollar, Eddie Long, and they want to go Hamburg and start those churches. And when they are in denominations, they were feeling like they were choked, and then they leave, start their own churches, and they got the frustration and the surprise of their lives that it's not as easy as they thought out there. Because in the denomination, there are systems. In the denomination, there are many things that are going well. If you are alone there, you are by yourself. You've got to have structures. You must go submit yourself under someone to be your pastor. Otherwise, you are very dangerous. Dangerous to the church and to yourself if you are not accountable to anybody. So all these things work. And I'm glad that some churches around South Africa, they are now seeing the light. I was actually saying to some young guys from the Alliance Church, I said, you guys in Mpumalanga, you are leading. Your church has got a lot of young pastors. There's something they are doing right. I don't know what it is, but there's something Alliance is doing right. We're looking at a lot of young pastors, and they are growing, and they are not moving out of the church. They are staying in the church, and they are impacting the church. Because it's not going to work that we keep on going out, splitting churches, fighting over nothing, instead of us growing. At my age, with the experience I have, you can give me any church I can run. Give me the most difficult board and difficult elders, I can work with them. Because there is something I've learned that is just human dynamics, knowing how to relate. And you relate with people based on where they come from, their background, their religion. And sometimes you've got to use those who are strong and religious to be your mouthpiece. Just shape them a little bit, take out some rough edges from them, you can use them. No, we fight with them. And we spend our energy fighting against strong people who have been in that church for 50 years. And you think you're going to win the battle? No, you are new. You are only 2 years old, 2 years in that church. They are going to kick you out. So the wise thing is to know how to bring them on your side. Know things that they cherish, love. And then just come in and says, I'm here, yeah, I'm here to hug you and lift you up, man of God. And they would say, we love this young pastor. We are sizwa lo mfana. Mara when we ask ukuthi no usebenza nabo uyabasebenzisa. So deacons and elders, the main difference between deacons and elders is that deacons are the ones who take care of administrative work, such as to look after the church building, distributing goods, or giving assistance to seekers, while elders concentrate on spiritual teaching and preaching on the word. So the word deacon comes from a Greek word diakonos. Now there's a table that you see on the screen that makes a comparison between deacons and elders. That the word deacon originates from Greek, that meaning attendant, while a Greek word for the word elder is the word episkopos, which meaning overseer. And the appointment of deacon is a physical service to the church, while the elders are leading and overseeing spiritual needs of the congregation. Now let me stop here. If we're going to run your church through elders, the biggest challenge you will have is that then there will be no work done. Because these guys are focusing on spiritual issues, but the church is not only focusing on spiritual issues. There are other administrative issues that needs attention. Somebody has to clean the toilet. Somebody has to make sure that the building is clean, the building is ventilated. Somebody puts batteries in this microphone. Somebody makes sure that the sound is okay. It's not disturbing. Preachers will preach. They will preach and roll on the floor and all these things, but the toilet will still be dirty. So we need to balance this thing. And then I need to really show you that what we need actually is a board of deacons more than the board of elders. All right? Because the pastor is an elder, there can be 2 elders in the church and have 5, 10 deacons. Because elders are not the ones who will be sitting every week, meeting and dealing with things. But deacons are the ones that are making sure that this thing runs. You understand, guys? Now, the experience for deacons, no prior experience is required. Okay? But elders, years of experience is required. Appointed, deacons are appointed by elders. All right? And then elders are appointed by the committee of the church. It might be elders. Now, the reason I've put this, I'm very deliberate, because there's this kind of things that we make unilateral decisions, and you team up with the people that agree with you. You appoint yes men and yes sirs in your team, and they don't challenge you. We need some robust debates. Robust debates. We must never suffer from ageism, as Malema said it, rightly so. That when we debate issues, we still respect each other, but don't use age as a trump card. That when people are asking you questions, it says, "Ngimdala mangaka." What is mdala has to do with a principle. Here we are talking a principle. All right, how are we going to use money? Do we have to buy air conditioners? How much are they going to cost us? Do we have the money? If we buy these air conditioners, what's going to happen with insurance? Are we insuring them because there's load sheddings? And sometimes there's electrical spikes when electricity comes back. Do we have insurance to insure all these expensive things? All right, so ubudala bungena kuphi lapha, because it's about reasoning. So I'm trying to show you that we are frustrating a lot of debate and robust thinking in our leadership because we use culture instead of common sense. Okay? So when elders, a church, a small church, let's say here's a church that has got 150 people or 60 people. It doesn't have to have many elders. There's one pastor. He's an elder, so he can appoint deacons. Do you understand? Because he's an elder. He appoints 10 elders. They all sit, talk about things, and then marakukumto sebenzayo bonke bayakhuluma. I come from a church, Lerato, your church, where everyone who was older and is a man is in the board. They wait for you to retire, then you are in the board. And the third part, let me leave that part. It's not their church, the one that I come from. And I realized that there was a big disconnect between us and them. Because then they will be blaming young people are like this, young people are like this. And they were sitting there and says, but these old people. I remember there was a big meeting. We were fighting about buying instruments. And at that time, I was just newly appointed, working. I just took part of my money I had. I went and bought those instruments. And I left them there when I left because I felt like, you know what? Why must I debate my instruments? The money was there. It's because there was no one representing young people in the board. There was no one representing worship team. It was only, and the board members did not have functions or responsibilities defined to them. Okay, so a primary calling for the deacons is for them to assist the elders, but the elders are there to assist in preaching the word. Now, quickly, I want us to look at the difference also on some of the things that are not on the slides. That the main difference between deacons and elders is that elders are preachers of the word of God, while deacons are servants of the church. The other key difference is that deacons require no prior experience to serve in the church, but elders require extensive experience before they are appointed. Another key difference is that the deacons require no prior experience. Okay, now I've already done that. Deacons are appointed for logistic and management work, while elders are primarily speakers in the congregation. Bayakhuluma ama elders, ama deacon ayayenza. Deacons are appointed by elders, while elders are appointed by the senior pastors. Okay? Now, the last one, deacons are servants of the church, thus less prone to sin in pride, while elders who are more susceptible to such sin, since they are appointed as leaders of the church or senior structure of the church. Now, what is the purpose and the responsibility of board? Now, before I go into that one, I just want to make this because it's going to help us. What in a case where you are running a church, all right? I was talking to a couple from Rustenburg. I'm not sure whether they're here, and then they were asking me questions. The reason I'm doing this is because we are involved with trying to help a lot of churches to set up their structures. That I said to them, I would advise that you run your church through deaconate, and both the guy and the lady, their parents are pastors. I said you can get both your parents, your father, to be in your elders of the church. Meaning elders don't have to be in the church every Sunday. All right, but they can help you so that when there's some spiritual issues, they can come in and help you. All right. I'm part of an eldership in Pastor Sanford's church, Pastor Cooper's church. I'm in South Africa, but if they make major decision, appoint a new pastor, whatever, they let me know. I'm part of their elders. You understand? So it is important that we do all these things and do them well. In our structure here at Gateway Church International, we're running most of our branches through a board of deacons. And then now we have a group of pastors that serve as elders in those branches. Do you understand? So I'm not saying this is the only structure and the perfect structure, but this is what works for us. There's a church, I'm not going to mention this denomination. In their constitution, they have spoken about autonomy. But now that autonomy was not defined correctly until a few years ago. They had a dispute with the local pastor. Now the local board decided to kick out the pastor. Then the district came to say, you can't kick out the pastor. They pull out the constitution because there were some legal guys in the church. They said, you guys don't have the right to interfere. We are autonomous. So that church started to run with elders, and it was creating a big mess. The district was watching, folding their hands as pastors who are from the district. They couldn't do anything because the constitution was forbidding them to interfere in the church. So these are the things that as we observe, we learn to say, when they allow the autonomy that the church can run, the branches can run. But if there's a challenge like that, then the elders from the district can come and supersede the local guys. We started the church, Gateway Covenant in Cape Town with Pastor Cooper. And we brought in his son to help us run the church. And then I used to go there a lot in Cape Town to help. And then they draw a constitution. And in the constitution, I said to them, I want to be in the leadership where we sign as an NPO. They were just dilly-dallying. Cooper tried. They said, no, don't worry. Because it was almost 90% white people. And then they said, no, the law doesn't allow you, you're a foreign man and other things. And then we were moving very slow, and there was a dispute because now the church was attracting a lot of black and colors, and these guys did not like it. They wanted to separate, and we said, no, we don't allow this kind of racism in the church. And the guy says, okay, we are closing the organization. And he said, we said, what? He says, no, we're closing it. Now they were in the board. They wrote to the department to say we are folding this organization. And according to the law, if they vote, 80% of them agree that we are closing the organization, they had to close it. And then they had almost over 900,000 in their account and some assets. They said, according to the law, we are donating them to the organization we choose of the same intent. They already have the other organization on the side. We walked away with nothing. I'm talking from experience. We walked away with nothing from that church in Cape Town. So I'm saying all these things, and I know that so this is going to be on social media and on YouTube. It's okay, but we need to address these things and say, these are the challenges we are facing. That sometimes makes pastors to be nervous, that they now register churches in their names. It's not right to do that, man of God. But you need to also protect your family. You've got to involve other people outside the church who are elders. That if you have 3 elders in the church, have other 3 elders outside. You can do that, you are allowed. But the danger of you registering everything in your name, this building doesn't belong to my family. It belongs to Gateway Church. It's not ours. We have separated our assets, family assets and church assets. I know this sounds very bad to some guys because we've realized a lot of people have things in their names. And people don't know. If some things are in my name, let me tell you, straightforward, this is in my name. People come knowing. Let me not deceive you. All right? There's nothing wrong when the assets are in person's name, but make it clear to them what they are building, what they are doing, they are improving is actually in the family name. Mabazi nesingabakhohlisi. All right, so I needed to make that part. This kind of things, azinayo excitement, but they are helping us. They are sobering us that we can deal with things. Because it doesn't help for us to take each other to courts and make the lawyers rich. Because the people who are winning in this whole dispute, that they must show the lawyer. These guys are milking it because now we are going to high courts where then we're bringing advocates that just to visit and make a call to him, he's charging you 7,000 rand for receiving your call. Hey. Purpose and responsibilities of a church board. Number one, church board is there to clarify direction by developing a strategic plan. Church board helps to clarify direction and purpose by defining why the organization exists and what it hopes to achieve. Develop a mission, a vision, and value statement and operational goals that map out the specific steps needed for achieving the mission. Now, when you have a church board, you have to develop something that, where is the church going? If somebody is going to be yawning in your church board, release that person, get somebody who's awake. Right. Who are called to be kingdom funders. All right, but they are not supposed to be in the church board. Because their minds are scattered. They know how to make money, but they don't know how to strategize. Number two, church board is there to manage performance. The board is responsible for monitoring and holding leadership accountable for doing their job. When you talk about leadership, we are going to see when we do the Organogram, we are talking about different ministries. We are talking about leaders of ushering, leaders of all the ministry leaders are leaders. So the board is there to hold them accountable. So we're going to show you how they are going to hold them accountable. 3, financial oversight. The board oversees and ensures that there is proper stewardship of the church resources. And that maintains financial accountability and solvency. This is done by approving and overseeing the annual budget. Guys, we need to have budgets in our churches. And I know that difficult ways of making budgets in our church. We are starting from a zero budget. That's how it works. You are saying, today we are going to talk about the budget of the church. These are the things we're going to want to buy, build, improve, and all these things. And the budget can be 2 million. And then we don't have the 2 million, but we are believing that before the end of the year, we would have raised that 2 million. So we're starting from a zero budget, but the church must have a budget. And how do we make a budget? We're making a budget from different ministries. Then in the organogram, you will see that your board must be in a form of HODs, head of departments, that they are fed by information from their members. So when I'm sitting and we are doing a budget, it must be this from the music group. They tell us we need new drum sets, we need a new keyboard, we need to change the stage, we need lighting. So all these people, we say to them, write the things you need this year. All right? Not a Christmas list, a shopping list. No. Things that are necessary. And then ushers, we says we need new offering baskets, we need that. We write all those things. And then we sit down as a board and say, what are most important? Can we still run a year with these cameras? They said yes. We are not deciding. The one who is the leader, an HOD of that ministry, he will be asking questions. We will question him. Have you looked at it? Is this an urgent need? Can we do without this for this year? Because our budget is too big. We want to scale it down. If we are going to scratch all the things that people want to have without talking to their leaders, we are going to discourage people from working. Remember, you are dealing with volunteers here. And these volunteers, we need to have a way to get them to work. And some of the things, we need to reward them. To say they've got new uniform. All right, they have new offering baskets. They are excited that there's a new keyboard, the new drums. We have improved the sound system. They love the new computer that they can do editing and videos. All these things, they come from a budget. People say, you guys are running nice videos. You guys are doing all these things. It's all about money, and somebody has to budget for all those things. Hey, bazalwane, ma ungana structure, angeke usathandaza. Because then it means when you'll be focusing on dealing with all these things. The Bible says in the book of Acts, the apostles said, no, we can't deal with all these things. We need to have time to pray and study the word. Let's get deacons to focus on these things. Sometimes we preach bad. Why? Because we're doing too much administration. And then we have no weight. We are empty. Why? And it's because we are trying to carry everything. So delegate some of these things. Let somebody do them. Because you are worried about. We went at a conference a few years ago, and this pastor who was hosting the conference, the guy did not enjoy the service because he was looking at the offering basket. I could see that this guy was so frustrated. Why? Because his mind was, am I making the budget for the conference? And I don't want to go that route. I am enjoying this conference. Well, yes, I know how much is the offering coming. They send me a WhatsApp. But that's not a primary thing. I don't count the money. I don't deal with all these other things. I just delegate some of these things. Yeah, okay, for those who are watching us, you didn't hear, she's saying there are pastors who go to the counting room. And then you wait for the pastor with a song because he's in the counting room. It's frustrating. It doesn't matter how small is your church, you've got to set up structures and systems that can alleviate a lot of weight on your shoulders. Number 4, ensures, the board is there to ensure accountability. Getting things done can be a challenge in ministry because there are so many unpredictable variances in any given time. There are too many moving pieces at the same time. You can't manage to steady all of them at the same time. You need a board to help you. Okay? They keep a pulse on the church by challenging things that don't line up with its strategy and diligently keeps the focus on its core mission. There are things that are just useless, things that we copy from others, but they are not part of the vision of the church. We've got to make sure that we move those things away. Now, number 5, it drives continuous improvement. Guys, we've got to continue to improve, especially post-COVID. There are so many things we've got to improve. We've got to look at our live streaming. Is it making sense? What Bushe was saying yesterday in the afternoon was very powerful. That the cell phone companies, they keep on improving their picture quality. The next version of whatever phone you are having is going to have better sound quality. What we buy in the headphones, there's what we call noise cancellation. That's what is now sold these days, and say noise cancellation. The Apple earphones, they are so good. Why? Because they went and they bought Beats. They bought Beats? Yes. So that the technology that they got from there, they can bring it in their earphones. Now here comes the guys in the church. The noise is so high. And then when they live stream, you can't hear what they are saying. And you expect people by faith, they must listen to you. There's so much competition, guys. We've got to make sure that there's continuous improvement. Now, you cannot expect the pastor to be the only one who deals with. The responsibility of the board is to say, we are not live streaming until we get it right. We better not live stream until we get it right. We can't be throwing out bad quality out there. It misrepresents us. Yeah, no, I know there's a quietness in the house, but we've got to. I think this is leadership. So let's talk about these things. They might be very offensive, but let's talk about them. My prayer is that we need to be competent as black-led churches. And if we are not talking to each other, then we are not going anywhere. I'm one of you guys, and I would want you guys to be somewhere else. Not because somebody has money, but we invest in right things. Let's not stretch ourselves too thin. Let's focus on one thing. Let's not bite too much that we can't chew. Let's bite small chunks that we can chew. Bring in other people that can help us to be better people. Guys, you know why the music is nice? No, it's because there's no echo. The carpet and the chairs, they absorb a lot of this echo. And it makes the music to sound good. It doesn't mean your worship team is not singing nicely. It's just the sound bounces all over the building. And you don't have, if you can't afford to buy a carpet, get some curtains. Go to Chinatown, get thick curtains, put them around the wall. Get some sound egg, those egg trays, decorate them, make them nice. But kill the echo. And then once you kill the echo, you are making the music to be easier and nicer. Okay? So the responsibility of board is that these people must help you with these things. Especially when you are aging as a pastor. May you delegate in your board of deacons. Can we have our other younger people? We can't only be having those who are 70 and above. We've been in our board, we always wanted to have younger people. The first time, years ago, we had a guy that we brought in our board, and he was 19 at that time. And he's been in our board for the last 20 years. And that was intentional to say, we wanted somebody young that when they turn 40, they can say, I've got 21 years an experience of being in a board. But these young people are helping us to see things we don't see. And they can talk to us straight and say, this church is boring. No, for people says this church is boring. But they are not going because they love it. When they say the church is boring, they are not going. Those are people I love. Because they are then saying we can have improvement on the systems and the structures of this church. You know, one of the things, when Fense was at Arfda in Joburg, he went to his Hillsong. And then 3 weeks, he says, no, I was operating their cameras. I says, oh, we have to be a year to touch the camera because we're thinking you are going to steal it. We are so suspicious. We are so suspicious. You have to go through a lot of red tapes to work. And I says, oh, that's why most these guys are growing and they've got lots of volunteers. Hey, we are so suspicious. To pack the chairs, you must go through a serious investigation, have your criminal records checked and all these other things. The board should assess the organization's performance to ensure that it fulfills its strategic plan and improve its internal processes, to ensure legal compliance. The board must know that we employ as a church our non-profit status. Are we updating the government every year with our non-profit status? If we have employees, are they registered for pay as you earn? Is the church paying their part? And are their employees? Are we deducting from them? Do we pay UIF for our church employees? And I'm glad that in our academy, Gateway Leadership Academy, which is our school side, the Department of Labor was able to pay the money we applied during COVID for all the staff members. And I don't know, we're still waiting. We wanted them to pay the UIF for the employees because we are paying. We're still waiting. We want our money. Why? Because we are paying. We are compliant as a church. Last year and the year before last, we were able to get a tax refund when we did our tax rebates. We got our tax rebates because we are filing every year. I file, she files. All right? Because we are compliant. Why am I filing? It's because I get a salary. I don't take all the tithes. The dynamics of growth that needs proper structure. The structure of the church, guys, must accommodate more people. We need to make sure that we deal with the structure, that it can accommodate more people. It can react to increased number of problems. If there are problems that are increasing in the church, like in the book of Acts chapter 6, the church started with the Holy Spirit, people were speaking in tongues, thousands of people were getting saved. But when the church was growing, all right, now there were problems that needed immediate attention. So the board was helping to react to increased number of problems, making decisions on the run. One man can run and make all those decisions. You can't find me. Sometimes my phone is off. Sometimes network where I live, people can't get me. But there's people who can make decisions on the run. We are able, stretching the budget and scheduling more events and meetings. I wish I put that schedule that we have that shows all the ministries. At the beginning of the year, we say to them they need to send all their events and the dates, and then we put them on this. There's a board in the administrator's office where we schedule all different activities, and we make sure that there's no clash. They all are running well. And I always put that schedule on my desktop, making sure that when I click it, I know exactly on this day, ushers are meeting on this day, worship team has got a night of worship on this day. When you call us, we will tell you that day we are not available. Why? Because we have that schedule. It's not something that then there's men are having a braai and young people are having something, worship team, and there's so much confusion. Why? Because we don't have a board that is functional. All right. Now, I want us to go to the organogram quickly. A board of deacons. All right. This is just an example where in this board you have what on your right you have family ministry, and then you've got outreach ministry. These are just examples, and you've got pastoral care, and you've got logistics. All right. And when you look at this, under this ministry, there's an HOD who's a board member. HOD 1, HOD 2, HOD 3, HOD 4, HOD 5, just like that. And then under the HODs, the HOD, he's got his department. In that department, he sits with chairpersons. Ministry, the MCP is ministry chairperson. Ministry chairperson of the youth, and the one who is having couples. Now, the ministry chairperson, in other words, this chairperson has his or her own team members, the committee of the youth. There's committee of couples, committee for what we call it a heritage, children's ministry. And then you've got your outreach. The HOD of outreach sits with the person who's running discipleship, membership, and evangelism. All right? Same when you look at pastoral care and logistics, where you have ushers, hospitality, and protocol. But all this just shows you a simple structure, that when we are sitting, as I sit in the board of deacons, chairing the board of deacons, I'm sitting there with an HODs. The HODs, they are representing ministries. This man who's heading family ministry, an HOD of family ministry, the youth is directly represented. Children's church is directly represented. Couples are directly represented in the top structure of the church. And then if they have needs and they have budget, it's easy for them to communicate direct with us as senior pastors. Do you understand, Bazalwan? So it makes it easy. And then I want you to look at the example of our church structure. Let's move to the church structure. This is our church structure, Gateway Church. Now, in this structure, we have the senior pastors where that's on top, okay? And then there, from the senior pastors Okay, let me go back there. We have the green ones there. We have board of deacons, and then this side we have administration. It's because of the size of the church. But now let me just help you. If you are going to go read a lot of American books, trying to make a structure for your church, you are going to get confused if you've never been there, you've never spoken to the Americans. Because how they do things, they have what we call, what's the word they're using? Staff. Staff to them is different. We are using volunteers. People that are in the board of deacons are volunteers. But in their structure, people who are sitting there as HODs, they're actually staff. They are fully employed by the church. They are running it just like they are running their businesses, where you are having a leader of family ministry. He sits in the office paid by the church. It's because they have the resources. We don't have the resources, because the people that are sitting in the board of deacons, we can't afford to pay some of them. Not some of them. Most of them are earning money, a lot of money that we can't afford. They are principals. They are captains of industries. They are people who are occupying high positions at work that we can't afford. So we work with volunteers while they are working with full-time staff. Okay, my time is up. All right. Thank you. What must I do? I'm waiting for you, madam. Should I continue? Give me 5 minutes. All right, thank you. So do you see that if we are going to be focusing on other things, we've got to look at the culture and where we are, the economics of our nation. That according to the economics in this nation, we can't afford to run with staff, but we can work with what we have. Okay, so we have staff on your right, the blue thing there. It's the office. So in the office, they are managing all the things that we do. So we have HODs and we have the office running. And then the next slide is now showing you that we have HODs. From HODs, we have MCP. You remember what I said? What are the MCPs? Ministry chairpersons. And the ministry chairpersons, then they have their committees. In their committees, the committee is not made out of just only simple volunteers. It's made out of leaders of functional ministries. Do you understand? So every HOD, when he comes to sit in the board, they are sitting with people that are working. All right? And then the next slides, we show you now a particular ministry, a ministry chairperson. Then he has his committee, and then there's volunteers working with them. I think this is easy. We can now understand. So leadership of the church must always be asking themselves, how can we be ahead of the growth curve of the church? Simplify structure to enhance growth rather than hinder it. Avoid duplication of responsibility and authority. Avoid bottleneck. And they are there to quicken decision-making processes, delegate responsibility to the front line, and empower ministry, yet maintain appropriate accountability. And then lastly, what does a healthy organizational structure bring to the church? It provides a mission-centric framework. It focuses the use of resources towards the vision, and it creates space for culture to grow. It changes the line with strategic development. Now, we need to think outside the box. We need to make sure that we have structures that work. So when you go home as a church, sit down and look at your church and say, because your elders are the preachers, that actually those who are helping you with pulpit work. All right? You can have, in our team, we have Pastor Tumsi, we've got Pastor Vusi. They are working as elders, but at the same time, they are the ones that are part of the board of deacons. So they are doing both work. If you look at the book of Timothy, some of the requirements of being a deacons and elders, they are almost similar. Okay? So we have both of these guys who are more in the board of deacons. They are HODs also, but they are also helping us in terms of preaching spiritual things. Pastor Vusi is more on pastoral care, doing weddings, funerals, preaching when we are not around and sometimes when we are around. So we are doing the work, but we are more functional. And I think I'm done. But sorry, sweetie. Yes, I need to take questions. I need to take questions. Are there questions, guys? If there are no questions, I'm glad to have a break, just leg stretch, and then we are going to have the last two speakers, then we're done. Any questions, guys? Do you guys have questions? I don't know. Is it me who's feeling hot, or is it because we did not switch off on the conditioners? It's hot, ne? And then why the conditioners are not on? Are we saving electricity? Let's have, maybe we are helping Eskom. Can I have also this one behind me, because I am very hot. All right. It looks like we don't have questions. It means I have done very well. Or you are more confused. I don't know. But thank you very much, guys. If you really have questions, when we close the session, I'm going to remain here for a few minutes. You can ask me questions. I'm willing to answer whatever question you have concerning the structure. But let's not make structures that they are built on stones. All right? We need to be agile, that we can be flexible and change things around. We can grow the church. Can we have a 5 minutes break and just go have something to drink, go to the restroom, and then we are going to come back. Yesterday we were warned that the worship team is not, it's not a clock, that we will hear music, people must come in. Worshippers were telling us that they are not a clock. To say, but no, they said, no, that's not what God has called them to do. They are called to worship God, not to be a clock. So we are just going to take 5 minutes and then come back. Don't wait for music. If the music plays, it means we are starting with the service. We are not bringing you in. God bless you guys.